But yeah, Sam Harris and Bill Maher and many others routinely shit on Islam, falsely conflate Islamic fundamentalism with the entire world of Islam. And this isn't politics, this is comedy.
And finally, new rule. I know it's supposed to be that magical time of year, but maybe what we all really need right now is a good dose of realism.
Oh, and he's going to give it to us.
I see a lot of nativity scenes when I'm out, as you always do before Christmas, and I can't help thinking about where that manger really is. It's in the West Bank, on Palestinian lands controlled by the Palestinian Authority. In 1950, the little town of Bethlehem was 86% Christian. Now it's overwhelmingly Muslim.
Wait. Is he going to be like woke in this? I'm confused. Or is he saying the Muslims are riding out? Is he saying that the Muslims are riding out the Christians from the area?
And that's my point tonight. Things change. To 2.3 billion Christians, there can be no more sacred site than where their Savior was born. But they don't have it anymore. And yet no Crusader army has geared up to take it back. Things change. Countries, boundaries, empires. Palestine was under the Ottoman Empire.
Wait, I don't get it. Like, things change. Muslims have overtaken Bethlehem. It's like, bitch, who's more dangerous to the Christian Palestinians in that area? You think it's Muslims? It's literally Israel. Why is it that so many, I'm against all religions Andes, okay? They love talking about how they're against all religions Andes, and they fucking despise Islam in general. They act like every Muslim is a violent barbarian who can't control themselves, okay? And then you literally have an ISIS equivalent in the form of Israel, and it's all just fucking straight up pink washing nonsense. It's like, well, you know, there are gay people in Israel. Meanwhile, if you're gay in a Muslim area, they'll throw you off a roof. It's like, no, that's ISIS. Okay? That's ISIS. That's your like, it's really weird. It's really weird that, like, everyone, and I mean everyone's got the fucking smoke, all these atheists who are like, I just hate religion. I just hate religion. They literally forget that there is currently a supremacist ethno-state that literally signals to the rest of the world that they're using Judaism to do settler colonial violence, which, by the way, has nothing to do with Jews in general, by the way, or Judaism, as a matter of fact, and yet they're still doing it. And, like, I can separate that. I can separate the art from the artist, you know what I mean? This motherfucker can't. He can't, and even in this circumstance, can you please show Israelis spitting on Christians just in case chat said you're speaking from your ass? No, no one in my chat said I'm speaking from my ass. It's always so odd to me. It's always so odd to me that the I'm atheist, by the way, Andes have incredible amounts of smoke and literally will conflate Islam with fundamentalism, okay? But when you have like a fundamentalist, a theocratic ethno-state, okay, that is openly like, no, we're doing this for Judaism, he can't fucking look at that situation and go, these guys are using Judaism as a tool, and I can separate the two. If he separated on the Israel side and actually had criticism for Israel, while simultaneously not separating religion from the actions of like ISIS or whatever, in that circumstance, he would still be better than what he's doing right now. And even then, that still would be unacceptable because you have to do that decoupling for both. Is Zionism really fundamentalism? Yes, Zionism in its contemporary expression is fundamentalist. Yes. Yes, it is. What do you think, like, having a nation state built on, having a nation state that non-Jews do not have the same fucking rights as Jews means? Like, you think that's, like, not a fundamentalist and otherwise, like, apartheid structure? It 100% is.
For 400 years, but today an ottoman is something you put under your feet.
My point is, these guys, every single time, r/atheists, Andes, or like anti-theists or whatever, okay? These guys 100% are just Islamophobic, and they try to mask that Islamophobia by being like, oh, I just hate all religions. I mean, I shit on Christians all the time too. And it's like, no, dog, you don't just hate all religions, okay? First of all, hating all religions across the board is weird too. It's like, what's it to you, dumbass? As long as someone isn't using their religion to do something violent or to control someone's behavior, which in certain instances, fundamentalist Muslim governments certainly do that. And I think that's fucking gross. And I criticize it all the time. But I still separate that from the people. Okay? I still separate that from the expressions that people have or the experience that people have with religion. Entirely different. One is racist and desperately edgy, even though it's no longer like 2013 and you're just like a fucking dumbass, okay? And trying to make the classic like, huh, lol, Muslims suck, am I right? They're all violent barbarians. The other is just a genuine criticism, a criticism of anti-secular behavior. But yeah, Sam Harris and Bill Maher and many others routinely shit on Islam, falsely conflate Islamic fundamentalism with the entire world of Islam, and claim that it is within the ideology that makes it so extra violent, while simultaneously they run defense for Israel, even though Israel, quite literally, not dissimilar to ISIS, uses religious fundamentalism as the backbone of its Zionism, of its colonial violence. It's a false conflation both ways. It's a false conflation, and it's fucking bullshit, and it's cynical when ISIS does it. And it does not mean that all Muslims are the same as ISIS. Just like it's fucking bullshit when Israel does it. This is why I say anti-Zionism is not anti-Semitism. It can be, but it's not. Okay? Across the board, anti-Zionism and anti-Semitism are separate things. As a matter of fact, many Zionists engage in anti-Semitic acts regularly. Okay? This is the same guy that was pole dancing yesterday. Fuck yeah, baby. That's what I got. I got the most diverse type of content you could ever see. I'll be pole dancing yesterday. I'll be Italian Grinch at night. And then later on Sunday morning, I'll watch a little bit of SNL and immediately dive the fuck into Bill Maher to give you analysis on all these new atheists and how they just basically traffic Islamophobic sentiment.
The city of Byzantium became the city of Constantinople, became Istanbul. Not everybody liked it, but you can't keep arguing the call forever. The Irish had...
I think what's really funny about this, by the way, is that, like, he's kind of shitting on Israel right now. Like, Judea and Samaria, like the notion that Israel belongs historically to Jewish people is quite literally something that predates Istanbul turning to fucking Constantinople. You know what I mean? That's the difference. That's the funniest part about it. He, I assume, is going to be shitting on Palestinians in this circumstance and be like, get over it, okay? Get over it. It happened 75 years ago. Except the irony here is that what he's showcasing implies the moral bankruptcy within the Zionist argument that, like, this is a land that belongs to Jews.
Had the entire island to themselves, but the British were starting an empire, and, well, the Irish lost their tip. They blew each other up over it for 30 years, but eventually everybody comes to an accommodation, except the Palestinians. Was it unjust that even a single Arab family was forced to move upon the founding of the Jewish state? Yes, but it's also not rare, happening all through history, all over the world, and mostly what people do is make the best of it. After World War II, 12 million ethnic Germans got shoved out of Russia and Poland and Czechoslovakia because being German had become kind of unpopular. 1 million Greeks were shoved out of Turkey in 1923, 1 million Ghanaians out of Nigeria.
By the way, he's fucking talking about the border swap, which occurred on the Greek side as well, with Turkish people living in Greece, like my grandparents.
1983, almost 1 million French out of Algeria in 1962.
He's conflating a whole bunch of different things. Like, the border swap is between, like, two states post World War I. Obviously, it's very different than the IRA, which is more closely related to anti-colonial actions by the Irish that wanted autonomy from the British, and perfectly understandable for them to engage in acts of violence, and then ultimately, which ultimately led to the Troubles. Algeria is another one that is like a comparison that favors the Palestinians. So I don't know why he's like bringing this shit up and being like, well, Palestinians need to suck it up. Look at all these other people that fought and won.
Nearly 1 million Syrian refugees moved to Germany 8 years ago. Was that a perfect fit? And no one knows more about being pushed off land than the Jews, including being almost wholly kicked out of every Arab country they once lived in. Yes, TikTok fans, ethnic cleansing happened both ways. In Fiddler on the Roof, the family is always moving.
It's like, bro, what is important about this date? The irony here is that, like, this quite literally predates 1948 as well. Okay, immigration occurred, and there were minor pogroms or major pogroms, as a matter of fact, depending on which country you're looking at, due to Arab nations and their own colonial, or not colonial, sorry, their own nationalistic post-colonial movements. Okay, the irony, however, is that what's the significance between this date, 1948, and 2018? I wonder what happened. The irony here is that this is a more complex thing than the way he's presenting it, that actually doesn't favor the argument that he's trying to present. Because right now, someone could very easily look at this. Right now, someone could very easily look at this and go, "Oh shit, yeah, okay. Well, a lot of the Jewish populations from Arab countries and many regions got purged because of the incredibly violent way that Israel designed itself as a nation state for Jewish people, for all Jewish people." And that would be wrong, because there's more to that story. The irony is he wants to defend Israel, and he's showing this, but putting this as 1948 to 2018 unironically makes it super easy for people to go, oh yeah, well, they left because they were pushed away because of Israel, because Israel had fucking displaced 750,000 Arabs.
Thing happened both ways. In Fiddler on the Roof, the family is always moving to stay one step ahead of the Cossacks, but they deal with it. When they're leaving Anatevka, they say, hey.
Wait, what the fuck? Brother, Brody be like, Jews deal with it after the Holocaust? Like, what the fuck are you saying? Jews deal with the pogroms. They deal with it. And so should the Palestinians. It's like, what? That's the argument? The argument is that, like, some of the most notoriously awful things that happened to an entire ethnic group historically, okay, is actually fine. Just, you know, fuck it, YOLO. That is an insane argument, Bill Maher. What the fuck? This dumb motherfucker just said ethnic cleansing happens, deal with it. And then unironically used a pogrom as his, like an anti-Jewish pogrom as his argument. These are literally like the worst things that have happened, okay? You can't just like point to the worst things that have happened and be like, and it's happening right now, so you should just suck it up. Like, the entire reason as to why this art exists is so that people understand that this was traumatic and bad and wrong. It's not to look at it and go, well, they got a fucking violin out of it. You know what I mean? Someone was playing a musical instrument throughout it. How bad could it fucking be? That's not the takeaway here. The takeaway isn't to look at that and go, yeah, Jews dealt with the pogroms. Why can't the Palestinians deal with the pogroms? Like, especially when it's currently happening, when it's ongoing, when it's like happening in the real world.
It wasn't so great anyway. Come on. Like other countries don't have roofs you could fiddle on? Now, that's not how they really felt, but they were coping. They coped, because sometimes that's all you can do. History is brutal, and humans are not good people.
Bro, Bill Maher's literally saying, like, he would be looking at a pogrom happening, like an anti-Jewish pogrom happening, and going, well, you just got to cope with it, because, like, other ethnic groups have been cleansed from the land before, too. Like, that's what he's literally saying. He's like, if he was around during the Holocaust, okay, if he was around during the Holocaust, he'd be like, Warsaw Ghetto, why the uprising? Why the uprising, Warsaw? It's not that nice anyway. Just get the fuck out. And it's like, well, they can't. But also, just deal with it. You know what I mean? Germans have done a phenomenal job so far. Bad things happen. Just deal with it. And by the way, that's not even a fucking stretch, because he unironically made that argument and solidified it by pointing to a fucking anti-Jewish pogrom to be like, well, they dealt with it. Why can't you? That's crazy. It's happening right now, dog. You don't have to make the you don't have to make the argument that you 100% will be if you're alive, 50 years from now, right now while it's happening.
History's sad and full of wrongs, but you can't make them unhappen, because a paraglider isn't a time machine. People get moved and, yes, colonized. Nobody was a bigger colonizer than the Muslim army that swept out of the Arabian desert and took over much of the world in a single century. And they didn't.
This is the funniest fucking thing, dude. Dog. History is built on colonial violence, imperial wars, actions, conquests. This much is true. He's not wrong. Okay? The difference is that was 1,400 years ago. Not happening last Tuesday, not happening today, not happening yesterday. Okay? That is the difference. And the whole point of, like, reading history is to understand how we got here and to take lessons from the past in order not to repeat them. Okay? This is ridiculous framing. I don't know how to deal with something so stupid. Because this conversation is being had in an effort to justify current settler colonialism, which he basically admits is settler colonialism. That's the funniest part about this. Bill Maher here is looking at the situation in Gaza, in the West Bank, and he's saying, yeah, that's settler colonialism. And what you have to do, Palestinians, is just suck it the fuck up and take it and die. Because for many, Palestinians don't even have anywhere to go. The 2 million in Gaza, they can't even fucking escape. Many of them don't even want to. And it's so crazy. Why not retort with Roman conquest? Because that would be stupid, my friend. That's why. Or the British Empire, or the current American Empire. That would be stupid. Well, the American Empire, not as much. Especially because it's like infinitely closer in history. It's happening right now. It's very, very stupid to point to colonial violence and its frequency and its likelihood of occurrence in the past to justify it right now. It's like the exact opposite. It is the exact opposite of history. The exact opposite of history. You're supposed to look at the wrongs of the past and not repeat them, right? That's what never again is. That's what the whole basis behind, like, Holocaust scholars and their work. That's what it's for, right? It's not because they're fucking freaks who are fascinated with the Holocaust. They literally have spent all of this time specifically looking at the details of the horrifying machine of murder, death, and destruction, specifically so that this never happens again. How do we get here? How do we make sure that this never happens again? He literally looks at that and goes, no, it happened in the past, and I want it to happen again, and I want it to happen over and over again, and the victims need to suck the fuck up, which is crazy. It's a very weird way to argue.
Didn't do it by asking. There's a reason Saudi Arabia's flag is a sword. Kosovo was the cradle of Christian Serbia. Then it became Muslim. They fought a war about it in the 90s, but stopped. They didn't keep it going for 75 years.
Brother, the only reason why, first of all, that's a ridiculous fucking thing to also bring up too. But the only reason why none of what he is mentioning, like none of what he's mentioning actually are relevant to the matter is because right now, as we speak, Israel has passed the 75th year of its apartheid. That's the reason. Okay? And in that maintenance, there are consistent purges that occur consistently inside of territories that Israel currently occupies. Okay? That's the difference. Israel is very unique in that sense.
There were deals on the table to share the land called Palestine in 1947, 93, 95, 98, 2000, 2008, and East Jerusalem could have been the capital of a Palestinian state that today might look more like Dubai than Gaza.
Oh my God, he's so stupid, bro. It's additionally funny because I know I said I wasn't going to cover politics, but this is also additionally hilarious and wrong because Benjamin Netanyahu yesterday, while Bill Maher was doing this smug ass, I don't know anything, but I'm just a conservative that uses I'm just a conservative that hates the Republican Party, basically, aesthetics, to give you American politics for fucking dumbass, out-of-touch boomers. When he was doing that, Benjamin Netanyahu was revealing to the public something that we here know very well, that he has consistently thwarted any efforts towards Palestinian statehood. He openly admitted again, just like he did in 2019, just like he ran on in the past in his campaigns. He said, I'm the only guy, according to the Times of Israel, okay? Here, I'll show you.
Arafat was offered 95% of the West Bank and said no. The Palestinian people.
Yeah, that's what I mean. He's doing the fucking Bill Clinton offered Arafat 90%. Oh my God. First of all, it's his territory technically. He is the representative. Okay? And secondly, not only is this his technically it's, the Palestinian land, but it's not a difference of agreement between 5% versus 100% or 95%. What is the major disagreement here? The major disagreement here is not about that. That was bullshit to begin with. There were non-starter provisions in this agreement. Okay? There were so many non-starter provisions in this agreement. What will happen to Jerusalem, which has importance to all Abrahamic religions, Christians, Muslims, Jews across the board, and whether Israel has a right to occupy it or not, which it did not. Okay? Right to return. The right for Palestinians who have been displaced by Israel to be able to return to their homes. Okay? That was considered a non-starter. The right to have a standing military and autonomy and sovereignty over its own region. Another non-starter. When we talk about 95% of the West Bank, one part of the West Bank that is not even up for question also happens to be the Jordanian border. Okay? There has never been a moment where any Israeli negotiations have allowed there to be no fucking military presence in the West Bank whatsoever. There was always going to be a non-contiguous state, which is basically a collection of Bantustans, especially after the last 30 years of West Bank settler expansion, okay? But then also on top of that, there was never going to be a standing military, for example. There's no sovereignty. It's bullshit. And what always sucks about situations like this is that, and this is something I repeat quite frequently, almost as frequently as the top of the hour ad break, right? Like I tell you at the top of the hour, there is a 3-minute ad break. If you no longer want to see those ads, all you need to do is subscribe for $5 or for free. Yeah, he wasn't even offered 95% ever. That's made up. He's referring to the Clinton parameters, which were accepted, but they were parameters, not an offer. These parameters, which came in December 2000, late in the process, forced the Israelis to move closer to the Palestinian position on territory and were the basis for the negotiations in Taba, which were shut down after the Israeli election. Yeah. That's one thing I mention all the time, right? The top of the hour ad break. The other thing I mention all the time, going back to the serious face here for a brief moment, when everyone is motivated to not know the truth, then lies are basically the truth. If every single person believes a lie, then that lie might as well be the truth. If every single American either A, doesn't know anything about the Palestinian-Israeli peace process, okay, or B, the ones that are quote-unquote knowledgeable are actually knowledgeable with misinformation or armed with misinformation, whether they are willing actors of spreading that misinformation or not, the truth might as well be whatever the fuck the American attitude or the Israeli attitude is, regardless of the actual truth of the matter. This is a major problem with the way that I try to explain certain fundamental concepts here at the HasanAbi broadcast. It's that I'm not necessarily arguing, I'm actually delivering to you an accurate assessment of events, but unfortunately, because of the way that people have been taught, because of the way people think that there's never been a real, there's been a very honest effort on the Israeli side to give Palestinians a peace offer and an actual statehood, which was never, ever on the table to begin with, a real state in the way that you understand it. Because people have been taught wrong and taught falsehoods, that might as well be the truth. And that I, a person who is giving you information that scholars have parsed through, am actually the liar. This is how we arrive at, you know, genocide scholars, like Israeli genocide scholars like Ross Segal being completely blacklisted from the media, not deliberately, maybe they just don't see them, right? Despite the fact that they write stuff such as Israel's actions in Gaza are textbook genocidal actions. Like, people like that, scholars, they just don't get heard at all on this matter. The people that do get heard on this matter are just charlatans. People that work in communications departments for the Israeli government. It's wild. But that's how you manufacture consent. That's how you make sure that people simply don't know the truth. And if people don't know the truth for 30 fucking years, 40 fucking years, and the only prevailing narrative that you hear from the media is basically what Bill Maher just repeated so easily, because remember, another thing that I say all the time is it takes 1 second to tell a lie, and it takes 100 hours to tell the truth and to correct that lie. It's much easier for people to just like rehash and repeat the falsehoods that they hear from their favorite political commentators instead of learning what the actual matters are, what the actual facts are on this matter.
People should know your leaders and the useful idiots on college campuses who are their allies are not doing you any favors by keeping alive the river to the sea myth. I mean, where do you think Israel is going? Spoiler alert, nowhere. It's one of the most powerful countries in the world with the $500 billion economy. The
worst part about this is that, like, Israel does, one, engage in acts of genocide. Two, utilizes actual genocidal language, especially because it's accompanied with actual acts of genocide. And yet, like, because these guys agree with them and they want the fucking Palestinians to be wiped out, regardless of whether they're Christian or Muslim, by the way, especially because, like, this is, again, funny that he mentioned, like, Bethlehem used to be Christian and now it's Muslim. Yeah, dumbass. Guess, you know what else happened? You know who is the #1 eradicator of Palestinian Christians? It's not the fucking Muslims, dog. It's Israel. Israel killed 2 Palestinian Christian grandparents, like, literally yesterday. One of the churches actually came out with a statement. Here, I'll show you. I believe they used their famous drone snipers. That's how cowardly they are. They don't just, like, snipe at Palestinian grandmas directly, okay, within their line of sight. Now they just fucking snipe at them with motherfucking drone snipers, dude. Oh, here's the Evan Hill post on it. The Latin Patriarchate of Jerusalem says an Israeli sniper shot dead 2 Christian women today who were sheltering inside the Holy Family Parish in Gaza. It alleges that one was killed trying to carry the other to safety. No belligerents are present at the location, it says. I have seen some of the defenders of Israel basically say, look how moral they are. They admitted that they killed civilians. They would never normally admit that, right? Like, they should be lying about it, right? That's the Israel you think it is. But look how moral they are that they admitted that they killed their own civilians. And it's like, dog, are you fucking serious? Are you for real? Like, that's another dub for Israel, that they killed their own fucking hostages?
World's second largest tech sector after Silicon Valley and nuclear weapons. They're here. They like their bagel with a schmear. Get used to it. What's happening to Palestinians today is horrible, and not just in Gaza, in the West Bank, too. But wars end with negotiation, and what the media glosses over is it's hard to negotiate when the other side's bargaining position is you all die and disappear.
Yeah, the irony, of course, is that depending on what your perspective is or your access to the real facts of the matter is, what he's doing could be seen as the greatest anti-Zionist commentary you've heard on the matter thus far. It's just you got to change the roles here a little bit and actually present it adequately, like which is the truth. Israel does not. Israel, which also uses from the river to the sea, the Israeli flag is all you'll see. It is a part of the Likud charter, and Israel has killed 20,000 Palestinians so far. That Israel actually doesn't want to negotiate. And I've shown you that Israel does not want to negotiate. As a matter of fact, the guy leading the charge, unironically, is flexing about how he has stopped negotiations already. Dead in its fucking tracks. The real thing to remember with the 3 Israeli hostages that were killed by the IDF, which are plenty more hostages have been killed by the IDF through the bombing campaigns, but like this, these 3 were shot to death directly. Okay. They were treated like every Palestinian civilian is treated in the Gaza Strip. The Israeli military does not give a shit whether you're a civilian or a fucking enemy combatant. They shoot you indiscriminately regardless. They're scared. Okay? They're scared. They filled their diapers and they shoot.
I mean, the chant from the river to the sea. Yeah, let's look at the map. Here's the river. Here's the sea. Oh, I see. It means you get all of it.
But then there's plenty more people who will look at that and go, what the fuck are you saying? You just admitted that, like, yeah, as long as somebody is, like, Muslim presenting, like, they deserve the death penalty by an occupying force. Like, get the fuck out of here. That's not how this shit works. You're basically just openly admitting how fucking unhinged and racist you are. This is what I hate about liberal racism in general. It's so hidden. It's so masked. It's so permissible in polite society that, like, a lot of liberal Islamophobes can get away with saying these like incredibly unhinged, incredibly racist things that you would mostly hear from a dude wearing a fucking Klan robe, but they mask it under the auspices of polite liberal rhetoric, and they try to, and I think that plays a role in normalizing it too. Because like the message is important, but the person who's delivering the message is even more important. You hear that from Donald Trump, most liberals will go, that's racist. I'm conditioned into knowing that this motherfucker is an Islamophobic, racist piece of shit. You hear that from Bill Maher, however, a person that you trust. Let's say you're a boomer liberal, a person that you trust, a person that you've listened to for years and years, a person that you think is hilarious. You go, you know, he's making some good points. But the difference between what Bill Maher is saying and the difference between what Bill Maher is saying and Donald Trump is not that different when it comes to Islam.
Not just the West Bank, which was basically the original you rejected because you wanted all of it and always have, even though it's indisputably also the Jews.
Trust them? Seriously, did you see how unhinged? Brother, I'm not talking about you or me. I'm talking about your parents.
Ancestral homeland. And so you attacked and lost, and attacked again and lost, and attacked again and lost. As my friend Dr. Phil says, how's that working for you?
Yeah, this is again a really gross way of in my opinion, one, saying that all Arabs are a monolith across the board and Palestinians deserve to be fucking ethnically cleansed because the surrounding Arab countries did not do a good enough job being able to defend them from the Israeli ethnic cleansing and the Israeli occupation, which in and of itself is a ridiculous fucking argument to make. It's like, it's just might is right politics here. And it's really gross to talk about this, especially when you are talking about Jewish people as well in the story who also fought back against the Nazis. It's the look at the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising and be like, well, you got what you got what you asked for. You fought back against your captors. And it's like, that's an insanely gross thing to say. But of course, we have learned that was a good uprising, a good intifada, whereas the Arabs doing an uprising, an intifada against the Israeli state is a bad one because the Israeli state is our ally and Arabs are scary. That's it. This commentary hinges on you not having this framework where you think all human beings are equal no matter what, unconditionally. Okay? If you don't have that framework, and many people unfortunately do not due to the reasons that I just mentioned, like the war on terror and Islamophobia that came along with it in order to justify the war on terror against the Arab population around the planet, a Muslim population around the planet, like, post 9/11 politics, like, has created this environment where, like, many people don't see Arabs and Muslims as, like, full human beings and are definitely afraid of them. And that is precisely the reason why Bill Maher can get away with saying this unhinged shit. And he can do it in this most smug way possible. Any kind of commentary, like Bill Maher, role reversal on this issue, okay? Conflate all Jews with Israel, okay? And do this exact same argument. You arrive at, depending on the way you're making this argument, obviously. But if you were to say, like, yeah, Jews came in because they're bloodthirsty monsters, you should be afraid of them and all this shit, you arrive at fucking Nicholas Fuentes. Okay? That's the problem. But one is acceptable because the victims in that circumstance are Muslims. The other, everyone understands, is a fucking Nazi. Okay? Ironic because, like, that fucking Nazi and many other Nazis also hate the Muslims too. So they're having a great time with this whole Israel-Palestine situation because they're like, oh, great, hate both of those guys. Let's see who wins.
Look at what Mexico used to own, all the way up to the top of California. But no Mexican is out there chanting from the Rio Grande to Portland, Oregon.
Yeah, might is right. Might is right politics.
Because they chose a different path. They got real and built a country that's the world's 14th biggest economy now. Because they knew the United States wasn't going to give back Phoenix any more than Hamas will ever be in Tel Aviv.
The irony is, this is why I talk about a single state framework, and I think it's a better framework for liberals to comprehend, because Israel currently is a one state. These are not two separate states, one controlled by Hamas and then the other one is just Israel, okay? It's one state. Israel occupies both the Gaza Strip and also the West Bank. It's already a one state. It's just an apartheid state, and the apartheid should end. That is why I talk about it from a one-state solution perspective and not a two-state solution perspective, because the reality is that it is a one-state currently. The notion that the Palestinians are like invading to go to Tel Aviv and like kill all the Jews is a fucking ridiculous notion. Palestinians just want the occupation to stop. Are there Palestinians who want to wipe out all the Jews? I'm sure there are. Okay? Are there anti-Semitic Palestinians? I'm sure. But that is not the leading principle here. The leading principle here is not anti-Semitism, is not Jew hate, it's not fucking a genocide of all Jewish people. It's not even the forcible expulsion of all Jewish people from Israel proper. The leading motivation here is the emancipatory cause, which is a just cause, which is a righteous cause, which is an end to the occupation for the 5 million Palestinians that are currently living under the thumb of Israel, whose homes are being destroyed, whose livelihoods have already been destroyed, who 2 million of it, half of which live in an open-air prison, the other half live in Bantustans in the West Bank that Israel has designed under permanent military occupation. Fucking sucks. Yeah, I like how we specifically said Hamas will never be in Tel Aviv, because he didn't want to say Palestinians will never be in Tel Aviv, because that is the reality. The reality is you could substitute it with Hamas, but the reality is he's talking about Palestinians.
One of the leaders of Hamas says, save yourselves time and imaginary dreams. In a few years, Allah willing, you will have to discuss the situation in the region after Israel. I'm sorry, who's the one with imaginary dreams? If I give you the benefit of the doubt and say your plan for a completely Jewless Palestine isn't that all the Jews should die, what is the only other option? They move. You move.
Yeah, it's a straw man. Like, there are infinitely more people in positions of power with the actual intent and the actual weapons to conduct the genocide that they're currently conducting on the Israeli side. Okay? It's very simple. It's the morality of it could not be more black and white. Well, translated willing but not God, kept Allah.
Move all the Jews. Okay, I gotta warn you, there's gonna be some kvetching.
Yeah. Israel has to do an ethnic cleansing campaign in Gaza because all Palestinians are Jew-hating monsters that want to do ethnic cleansing and have done ethnic cleansing towards Jews, actually. They've just done it unsuccessfully. There's no just cause here. There's no, like, moral framework in which, like, Palestinians who are human beings deserve a life of dignity and humanity. It's just...
You move all the Jews, and we do this with what? A fleet of trucks called Jew Haul?
Oh, and then he tries to make jokes. Oh my God, bro. This dude is so bad. Bill Maher makes jokes for people who have just been, you know, in a severe car accident that has permanently and in an irreparable fashion broken their brains, okay? Maybe like struck by lightning, directly to the fucking dome, maybe a lobotomy. He's making humor specifically for those who have been recipients of lobotomies.
And to where are we moving this entire country? Texas? Sure, they have room, and I guess we could put the Wailing Wall on the border and kill two birds with one stone. Or we could just get serious.